Welcome to Modern Sages. We just completed our January live group reading. We are so excited to be sharing with you a portion of this reading. Before getting started with the women who were in our group, we did a beautiful tube of light meditation. And what you'll be hearing now is after the tube of light meditation, once we got started. We hope you enjoy the live messages. Of course, everything that's shared can be directly connected to you if it's your heart's calling. So we hope that you enjoy the messages from our live group reading.
Welcome to Modern Sages Podcast.
I'm Jenn Gilbreth.
And I'm Candace Coons.
With over 25 years combined, we have delivered messages from beyond,
explored ancient healing wisdom, and integrated these profound teachings into our everyday life.
We are passionate about creating new ways of being human in the modern age by integrating the wisdom of the past with the present and coming into remembrance of who we truly are.
Are you ready to change your relationship to life itself? If the answer is yes, your journey begins now. So kind of go over how we're going to go with this evening. We're going to start with a meditation to help us get centered and aligned to spirit. And then after I do the meditation, then Jenn is going to channel any messages that she's feeling that she needs to share today with the group. And then after she does the channeling, then I'm going to do a group reading with my cards. And then after we do the group reading, then Jenn is going to start feeling who she feels drawn to, who she needs to deliver a message to. And then while she's doing that, I'll be pulling cards and feeling into that energy to see if there's any additional information that I feel like needs to come through for that person. And then after that, we'll do Q&As. So that way, if anybody has individual questions, they would like to go deeper with whatever we covered, or if they have questions, then they can go, at that point, we can go a little bit deeper. But when I do the group reading and Jenn does the group channeling, it's a message for everybody. It's what we have in common. There's no accident that we are all here receiving the message. If you are here, you're supposed to hear the message, because everything is just about that resonance and that alignment, and you set that intention. And if you set the intention, you will receive that. So that kind of gives you an overview of the evening.
Let's dive in here. In the middle of us getting prepared, my dog Murphy was like scratching at the door. We have a lot of animal energy that wants to be here. He was like, let me be here, let me in. We always love to just start that meditation because it brings such an understanding and such a remembrance that we're connected to the divine at all times. We might go through our day, we might feel disconnected. And so this is something that we encourage you to do often, is to align yourself with that tube of light. So it just seems so fitting to get started with that, because that's essentially how we can fully have our hearts opened. And it was interesting at one point, all of a sudden I felt just everyone's heart spaces connect in all at once. It was really beautiful. And as I do a collective reading at first, then we'll, of course, as Candace said, then she'll pull some cards. She's going to email me those cards, and then I'll post them so we can see them here. And then we'll do some individual things as well. But the thing that really I feel very drawn to, and what I was seeing as we were preparing during our meditation, was it felt like there was a lot of strong female energy, a lot of strong ancestral lineages, a lot of mothers, a lot of mom's side of the family, whether that's grandma, great grandmother, mother. There's just this high energy that's here from mother's side of the family collectively. And it feels like there is this sense of, I see these women standing up, standing in a circle around us, but I see them being propped, like lifted up and supported by this balance of healthy masculine support. And for whatever reason, it feels like there's a lot of blockage in the throat, in the sense of each and every one of us individually trying to find our truth, trying to share our truth, but kind of having this kind of like this quirky understanding between the feminine and the masculine that's kind of playing out within mom's like mother's line of the family. It's just like there's this divine connection here. And so I feel like understanding that we do have this healthy support of masculine energy on the other side here to help support us while we're able to share that truth and to be open in that space, which I think is a beautiful reminder. And so I wrote some notes that were coming up: healthy relationship with feminine and masculine. And as that was coming forward, it was like all of a sudden I felt like there was this, I just saw this portal opening, and it was like I was drawn up into the star system, which of course we know we're not the only people who are living or the only energies, beings of love and light. And so I do feel really connected into the galactic family in this space. Is I feel like there's just this understanding and the support of wanting to show us the divine masculine and feminine, and how really we don't have to focus on just having one or the other. And I see it's almost like a little bit comical for our galactic family to see the struggles that we experience here, because we're so physical. We have so many things that are just so tangible. We view things that are here when in truth, our spirit, as we connected into that galactic space, is so much more vast and so much more knowledgeable. And so I just see them wanting to bring in this support and this reminder that, like, this is a time of learning healthy boundaries. It's learning the masculine and the feminine, and it's not putting one down. There's not one or another. We can have both in our life. And in fact, it's healthy for us to have both in our life. But it also feels like there's this struggle or this wounding that has taken place within the masculine energy. And it almost feels as though our ancestors are here to help bring the support of positive energy, but not have it be too strong that it's causing us to be disconnected from honoring that masculine space as well. So it feels like there's just this balancing act. It's kind of like the temperance card on the tarot. It feels like it's in the temperance card, it's where this woman is like kind of bringing the water back and forth to even it out. And so I feel like there's a lot of that energy there. And it almost feels like, especially on the mother side, it feels like there's a lot of understanding about this shame around creativeness, of sexuality, of this masculine energy. There's this shame that I feel is coming in a lot. And I feel like they want us to know that we're safe and that this is our time to explore life, but to explore that space of positive feminine and allowing that masculine energy to be in when it needs to be, but also really giving ourselves permission to like dive deep and to surrender and to support. Is they want nothing more for us than to fully embrace our human experience. And that's good and bad. That's the light work and the shadow work, which ultimately is the same work. It's the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang. There's duality in all things. And I feel like they want us to remember that it's okay for us to be involved in both aspects. It's not shameful, it's not bad, it's not wrong. In fact, it's part of this human journey, and it's holy and it's divine and it's unique. And so I just feel like they want to bring in that space that we have this evident flow within. We have this cycle of beauty. If you look at Mother Earth and even just the cycle in which we have animals, right? There's all these different systems in which, even in the ocean, this fish eats this fish eats this, and it just brings this beautiful flow and this beautiful balance. And so I just see them wanting to remind us that we are living in a world of balance. We're living in a world of beauty. And when we can surrender into that cycle, like, we're going to be covered. We don't have to do everything ourselves, but the ecosystem, just Mother Earth in general, has this space of just taking care of things. Everything she has is there. It's beautiful. It's pure and it's holy. And then there are times where we think, but I can't live in that. I can't be connected to that because that's too easy. But life is meant to be easy and joyful. Of course, there's going to be hard times. But if we connect into the nature of Mother Earth, it flows, it's open, it's nurturing. And there's also harsh times. There's typhoons, there's thunderstorms, there's fires, all kinds of things. but that's because it's here to help bring the balance back into form. And so I just see them wanting to remind us and to encourage us to be in that flow and to know that masculine and feminine energy is perfect the way that it is, and we don't need to focus on one or the other so much. And I feel like that's also the call of the galactic, is they're saying you are so much more than one or the other. You are here to be a human, you're here to be experience this, and you chose to come here, and it's hard, but it doesn't mean you're alone. And we need to open our understanding, open our horizons for the flow that is innately within us and around us, to find it within. And I feel like that's kind of good for now. I feel like Candace has some stuff to lean in on that, and then we can move forward from there.
Thank you so much, Jen. Let me get the microphone up here. I went ahead and sent you the cards. The second one I sent, I actually want you to show second. So it's the first group reading that I sent your way through the email, because that should have all the past, present, future cards and overall. To me now. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, that's perfect. I am opening up that right now. So here we go. Can everybody see that?
There it is. This is nice because now I don't have to really look down. Just look up at the screen. This is great. Okay. So this is a past, present, future, and overall card spread. So that's what the 4 cards represent. And when we read it from left to right. So the ones that are at the very end on the left represent the recent past. So let's go ahead and start there. So I find it interesting, Jen, that you mentioned that the Galactic Council is really trying to emphasize the natural balance of creation, that it's not something that we have to try to figure out, on our own, or there is a natural energy of justice and karma and masculine and feminine and light and dark, and everything is part of creation and it's perfect just as it is. And when we see this card that is a major arcana, which is the justice card, this has to do with our soul lessons. Anytime that we see a major arcana, it represents our soul contracts, things that we're here to learn, life lessons that we're here to learn. And this is not always an easy lesson. It's hard to sometimes fall back in that complete trust that all is well, that everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be right now, right? It's sometimes challenging to rise above the dramas of our lives and see things from an overall perspective when we feel so emotional about things and we feel so pulled into the dream, of our separation, the feelings of injustice in our lives. And so when we see this card, that is the very thing that we're being asked to do. We're being asked to rise above, to try to see things from an overall perspective, to ask ourselves if we're being fair and kind to ourselves. Are we being fair and kind to others? Do we always obsess and worry about the future and worry that everything's not going to be okay? Do we trust that the universe has our back? That life is not happening to us, but it's actually happening for us, that it's a gift. So when we see the card above it, the happily ever after, what it's trying to tell us all in this group reading is that this is a time in our lives where it's very important to not only rise above the drama, to try to see the big picture of our lives. Like imagine that you're flying on the eagle's back and you're looking over the panoramic view of your life, your relationships, where you are in this time of your life, where you would like to go. Try to see things from an overall perspective, like the wise eagle. Or on Athena's shoulder, she has the wise owl. The owl symbolizes wisdom, being able to connect in with your third eye, with your visualization, to be able to go within for truth, to take yourself out of the story and get to the core truth of things. It's also, when you have this happily ever after, it's a very important time to visualize everything working out. Everything is working out, all the problems, all the hiccups, all the stops that that we have come up against, that there really is a happy ending to this, that everything is going to work out just fine. We just need to just relax in the journey and the process of our lives and our unfolding, and trust in the journey that we're on. So those are the things that we've been kind of working on collectively as a group, is really in visualizing that which we want to create with our lives, working on coming out of the drama, understanding that there's always balance in the universe. That this is also why it's very, very important to, and this is another lesson that comes with the Justice card, also be very aware of the energy that you bring into a space. Be aware of the energy that you are bringing in or putting out to the world, because that energy has to return to you one way or another. So when we take accountability for our lives and our manifestations, and we be really present about our energy, like what kind of energy are we bringing into a space? What are we focusing on? What are we imagining in our minds? Are we so caught up in the what ifs or a past or whatever that we're not spending enough time really being with what our heart really desires in our lives, or the direction that we would like to take with our lives? Are we really giving ourselves permission to dream, to really visualize that which we want to bring into fruition?
I think
Because that carries an energy.
absolutely. And I think that adding into that space, if you don't mind, it goes back to the mom's mom side. And it feels like there's this healthy, happy balance of sometimes we can be justified by what's gone wrong in life, that we hold ourselves back from having that happy ever after because it's not what we think it needs to look like versus what's
Mm-hmm.
in front of us. And so I feel like there's a lot of it that's happened on mom's side of the family that's also wanting to be brought up and brought forth to say, hey, it doesn't have to be exactly what you envisioned it to be for it to be happy. It's like around it, it's darkness, but when they open it up, there's that light. There's that meadow that you've been looking for. It's just changing out of that aspect of I'm justice, I need this, I need that because of the things that have happened, to bring it into this space of light and of love. And this
Yes,
is
Jen.
really the call of what the mother side of the family really wants us to be aware of, is that victim space or that heavy justice energy, because that gives us stuck in one space versus holding us back or captive from fully embracing that happily ever after.
Yes. Which ties into to the breaking free, right? Like you look all the way over to the right, and that column represents the overall energies of the reading. And below it has to do with nostalgia, looking at your past, right? And a lot of times when there are things that we're still trying to heal from our past, with our ancestors or with our parents, or past our beloveds that we have been with, or just different relationships, brothers and sisters, in laws, whatever it may be, and it did not pan out the way we wanted it to, right? They weren't able, or they weren't capable of loving us in a way that we receive love or feel love in our lives. And it's not because they didn't love us, it's because they were not capable of loving us in that way. And when we finally just see that and we're not caught up being angry about it, saying, you're not loving me. You're not there for me. You're not showing up for me in the way that I wanted you to show up for me, whether it be in the past or the present to this day. If you can finally come into acceptance that it is what it is and say, they're just not capable of loving me in the way that I receive love, then you're able to break free. All of a sudden, that energy that took up so much weight, that took up so much space in your life, has now been cleared out. And now you have room for all of the blessings, all the things that are there for you, that are coming for you, because you're not distracted by all the injustices or the ways that you felt that you weren't treated correctly, or, and that's what the justice card is really all about. It's about saying, can you rise above it? Can you see the bigger picture? That there was purpose in everything that has happened in your life, that you had to be in these relationships. It's forgiveness is never, and we always talk about this, Jen, and I've said this time and time again. The reason forgiving is liberating is because you're not saying that I forgive you, saying it's okay what happened, right? It's not, you're not saying that it was right or wrong. You're not saying that, right? When you forgive someone. But what you are acknowledging is that everything had to happen exactly the way it did for the evolution and the growth of everyone involved. There was purpose in these relationships in your life that had you learned something about yourself. There was some diamond that you needed to retrieve from that experience, which took you to the next step, which either inspired you to love differently or to do things differently or to live your life differently. But there was purpose in the whole thing. And when you're in the justice and you're in the right relationship with justice and energy and balance, and you're riding on the back of this eagle, you're able to see that. You're saying, you know what? Even that really sucked. If this didn't happen, it wouldn't have brought me to this place in my life. I wouldn't have decided that I was going to be a counselor or a teacher or this or that, or I wouldn't have met this person who gave me this opportunity here or there. And it's the same thing too, like kind of changing subjects. But when we do ancestral healing work, when you heal from the ancestors, when you do journeys with the ancestor or you do healing work, ancestral healing work, it's not always about releasing all the negativity that your ancestors brought to the table. Yes, it's good to release that, to say, look, this is not serving me anymore. This is energetically taking up too much space. I want to open myself up to something more in my life that's more heart-centered and aligned with my spirit. But part of the ancestral healing, though, is like, look, don't throw it all out. What were the gifts that your ancestors brought, though? Like, what is something that's been brought down the line that you had, that your ancestors had, that was a strength? And it may take a little bit of time to recall that, but once you start doing it, you'll start noticing more and more things, more and more gifts.
Can I add to that, Candace?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm assuming that everyone on the call is open for me to call on you. Is that correct? Okay. Beautiful. Because I do want to add into this note, if that's okay with you, Candace. I don't want to stop your
Yes.
flow. But Cassie, is it okay if I connect in with you for a moment? I'm gonna have you unmute yourself. I feel like there's this my heart is beating extremely quick coming into your space, and I feel like there are so many gifts. Let me sit with this for a moment. I feel as though you have a lot of connection, maybe with a biological family, but I feel like there are many around you who have passed who aren't technically biological family, but are family to you. Like, you're someone who collects people in the aspect of you bring one person in and their family, regardless of how long you've known them, what's going on, like you just bring this space of unconditional love and this space of home to many people. And it's so interesting because I feel like 6 generations back, there was a female who was someone who worked with the land and would bring healing, kind of like a medicine woman that would bring healing to people. Have you been drawn to learning about plant medicine or doing stuff with herbs or growing things or plants? Does that make sense to you, Cassie?
Yeah. Yep.
Um, because it feels like there's this connection or this call with her, with this grandmother energy, whether or not this maybe could have been you in past life or this grandmother energy. It's like there's this calling or this bubbling up like a brook, like wanting to like bubble up and explode all over this ground of healing, of love, of nurturing, of like honoring that earth-based energy within. And I feel like it's this call, and I feel like there's this call of wanting to give you permission, knowing that that's part of who you are, who you've been, who you'll forever be. And nothing's bad or wrong about that, but it's almost like I feel like there's this space of wanting to give you permission. And I feel like she's wanting to bring this permission into your space of saying, you already know all these things. You don't have to take a bunch of classes or courses or lean on anyone else to give you understanding, like it's innately within you. It's just taking the time to trust. And maybe that's going outside and being by a tree or being by some kind of plant that you're drawn to and just leaning into that, because I see you connecting in and channeling the plants and understanding the healing properties they bring or what people can use for them naturally without having to go outside yourself for that understanding. Does that make sense with you?
Yeah, that does.
What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I've been hauling my plants around a lot. I've got my one right there, got my one right there, got some over here, trying to find homes for them. So I've got more in my room.
That's perfect. Awesome. Yeah, I just feel like there's this space of wanting you and encouraging you and giving you permission to step into that earthy medicine woman kind of a feel if you're drawn to that, because it's going to be like coming home. Of course, if you so choose. I just feel like there's a lot there, and I see a lot of sunflowers popping up in your space. And knowing that as you're seeking truth, you're always guided. Sunflowers they always move with the sun. And knowing that as you're connecting into your heart, as you're connecting into knowledge, you're always going to be moving towards the light. And at the end of your life, what more could you ask for than experiences of light? And you know what those are. Sometimes it's scary to like fully embrace that. But I just feel like her call to you is to embrace it and to embrace it fully with your hands in the dirt, whatever that's like. Just like, who cares what it looks like, what it feels like, how it looks to other people. It's like time to embrace that from within.
I like it.
Awesome. Perfect.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it is really interesting because even as you're sharing that, in that second row, it represents the present circumstances of everyone in the group. And it's really about looking inside of yourself to figure out, what are my gifts? You know, what are those strengths that I can share with the world? If I can break free from the past, that it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be or what it should be, and I can rise out of the drama of my life, and I can create space and break free from all of that energy that was taking up mental space, energetic space, then it frees up all of this energy to really focus in 100% on your gifts and strengths. And it's not that we shouldn't be aware of our weaknesses and those things that we're working on. And of course, those things we do work on, but we want to give more attention to the areas of our strengths and gifts, because these are the things that the world is waiting for. These are the things inside of us that the world needs to see from us. We can't be hiding in the shadows and making excuses. It's because so-and-so did this and this is why I'm this way, or I don't have the courage, I don't have confidence and I'm afraid, or, we all struggle with those shadows when we're coming into our power. But this is a sign that it's time to share. It's time to really look inside of yourself and to really share in every way that you can in your life. Don't worry if it's going to make this long-term change in someone's life. Just show up and be you and really focus in on what gifts you have to share and go into the fullness of that, whatever that may be. Like, how far can you take that in your life, those gifts? In the near future, there is going to be movement with the family. So you'll see the family harmony above. And then right below that is a major arcana card. This is the third card in from the left. And this represents the near future. And you'll notice that card is upside down, that major arcana card. It's a Roman numeral. This has to do with, again, our life lessons and soul contracts. And what this represents when we have the judgment card, it means that there is completion here. There is a completion of a lesson. And there is swift movement into the next phase of our lives. When it's in reverse like this, or it's upside down, it just means that there's resistance in really truly letting go. And letting go as far as our ideas about how things should have looked, and just accepting as it is now, here and now. What's miraculous about this energy, though, is that it has a healing energy with it, in the sense that when we finally accept people as they are unconditionally and our circumstances and the things that have happened, then it creates space for unconditional love, compassion, and acceptance. And often that energy naturally heals those relationships, even though you're not trying to heal them. That's what's kind of interesting about the space. And it's because we're holding that space of compassion and understanding and forgiveness. And then it naturally begins to shift the energy of those, or the dynamics of those relationships. And we begin to experience more peace in our family dynamic. So whether it be, and this could be anything, this could be the families we create, this could be a biological, this could be our fur family, this could be so many different things, but it's really just understanding that you're coming full circle with these lessons that you needed to learn. And then it's okay. It's okay to move forward. It's okay to say, you know what? I've looked under every rock. I have tried this. I've tried that. I'm just going to let go. And I'm going to break free from that bondage, or those constraints in my life, and move forward. And as you do that, it's a wonderful time to do a life review, though, to reflect on all the lessons you learned. And that's what the Six of Cups represents. It's that rejuvenation of the divine feminine energy, which is like rejuvenation in the sense of like, okay, well, it wasn't all bad. These things that happened in my past and the lessons I've learned, what did I learn from those experiences? There were good times too, not just bad times. Maybe I need to focus in and remember the good times, and remember the pleasure and the joy and all the cool things that happened to me, and the different things I learned about myself, or about life, or about people, or about my strengths and gifts that I get to share with the world. What did I learn? What can I retrieve from all of that? And as you go through this process of review, in this sense, where you're shifting your perspective instead of focusing on the negative and focusing on the positive, it has a rejuvenating effect on our energetic system. It's like gathering all of this water and resources and things that we need for our journey from here on out. So it really is a liberating, energizing experience when you really shift the perspective and say, I'm not going to focus on the negative. I'm going to focus on the positive. What did I learn? What did I gather? What did I learn and gather from these experiences, relationships, and things that happened in my life up to this point? And it's safe for me to move forward. It's safe for me to let go. And what kinds of things do I want to create? What would be a beautiful outcome to my life? What would that look like? Maybe doing a guided visualization where you imagine, and I would recommend doing this, of course, after you line up with the tube of light, aligning your chakras, aligning to spirit. But after you do that, you can visualize that you're on a path and there's two sets of shoes. And I got this meditation from this lady online that I just love. And it was her manifestation journey or guided meditation. It's fantastic. Jen, you know which one this one is.
Yes. I can actually send that on a follow-up email. I'll send that meditation.
Yes. As you're moving forward, because of this happily ever after card and this judgment card. So this is really about moving forward to another phase in your life.
Can I add in real quick, Candace?
Yeah.
Okay, because I feel like I need to jump in here. And I feel like I'm being drawn to Amber in this aspect. And this is for many people, but I feel like bringing this into Amber's space is something important. Is I know that a lot of us do a lot of inner work. We do a lot of healing. And sometimes it feels like we can kind of go into the cycle, like a cycle of healing, of enjoying, of healing, of enjoying, of healing, of enjoying. And Amber, I'm drawing into dad's, your biological dad side of the family. Grandpa on his side's passed, correct?
My biological dad?
Yes.
I don't know. Possibly. Probably, yeah. I actually don't know a lot about my biological side of the family. I know he was a musician, and I know that there was a lot of discourse. That's interesting.
So let me sit into this for a moment, because I'm drawing in to that aspect, but I'm drawing into his bubble in like the tree chart. I'm drawing into this space, and the purpose of what this is about is I'm just going to trust the flow. Is it feels like that there's this energy of interesting. Okay, let me sit with this for a minute. I want to word this the right way. I don't know what this is, but it feels like there's this interconnection. It's like a very odd, it feels very foreign, this spirit connection to you and to him. And it feels like there's this draw, but it's like, I don't know anything, but I'm drawn and I feel so much compassion and love and support, even if I don't fully know why. Does that make sense with you? And has that been occurring to you a lot more like in the past 5 years?
Oh, with my biological side of the family?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I so I don't have a big connection with my biological father, who's now a woman, actually. That screws me up a little bit, but his side of the family has been reaching out, and it's really interesting, this breaking free and the look inside yourself and the family harmony, because the family that I was born into, there's a lot going on right now. There's also a lot going on within myself, where I'm feeling very, very alone in my family, just because there's a lot going on. There's a lot breaking free and generational healing and just all this stuff. And so I've been feeling really, really alone. And I actually had my faith. I had a blessing a couple, while I was really sick with COVID, that said, your ancestors want to talk to you. Your angels are here for you. You need to really hone into that, so that you know that you're not alone in this healing process. Also, while I have you, I'm sorry, I have a really, really, it's like bugging me, and I need to talk to Candace for a second.
Yes.
And it goes with Candace and with Jen, with the look inside yourself. As four of you four, on my screen, Cassie, Jen, and Candace know that I'm also a coach. And I had a really strong prompting a couple of months ago that said, after your January course, you were to take a year off. And it broke me. I was like, that's my life. Wait, what? I'm supposed to take a break from this? Like, things are just starting to really get big. And it was, you need to look inside yourself. So when I saw that card, I immediately started crying because I was like, oh wait, I thought I'd done all the healing. And the feeling that I keep getting from my angel is, no, sweetheart, you're just beginning. You've done so much healing and so much work, but you have this belief system going on inside of you that your value is linked to you being able to help other people to heal. And so, and that was about 48 hours ago. And that was really, really hard. But also really beautiful, because I'm like, okay, what is it that I need to change? What is it that I need to harmonize so that I can break free and become an even better person for myself, not for other people, but for myself? Because how can I coach? Candace is like, praise Jesus. But
I'm
like,
ready for this one.
okay, that's where I am right now. And it's both
Yes.
beautiful and also extremely, for me, it's extremely painful.
Yes.
And I don't know why it's painful, because it doesn't need to be, but it's almost like I'm fighting against myself. And so I know that Jen has something, I can tell because her face is like, it's the Jen face. So I know that she has something to say. And I also know that Candace has something to say, but I don't want to monopolize the time. So if it needs to be a conversation after, totally cool.
Well, I think it's good to also acknowledge that probably a lot of us feel that way in different perspectives. And so even knowing that like what's being shared doesn't have to necessarily always be connected into Amber's space, but if you're feeling that way, what is it that, you know, that Candace can share, or that I can share, that our ancestors that can share to help you kind of move past maybe that bridge point where you've done everything you can, you feel like you're stuck, or you feel like there's got to be more, but you don't know what. You've done all the healing you think is possible. This is also for you.
Interesting feeling, Jen, because I've never ever felt like I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And
oh, I'm so excited about this, Amber.
Okay,
like
go ahead,
I am
Candace.
so excited.
Go ahead, because I'm like, I've done a lot of, and I was actually just talking to Cassie about this right before the call. I was like, I'm so depressed right now, and I'm not a depressed person. What is this? What is this? Because I just feel so heavy and so sad. I'm just like, I feel like I'm grieving and I'm mourning something, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm mourning.
Yes, it's an identity. So yes.
Take it away.
Yeah, this is beautiful. I mean, I want to go and wrap up what we were talking about in the reading, because really we covered all the cards. And I was getting ready to go into how important it is for you to give yourself permission to dream a new dream, to be able to accept things as they are, to break free from the old constraints, the old identity, the old way of being in the world, and create a new vision. And there's this wonderful meditation. Jen's going to send it to you guys so you can do it, but I love it. I would highly recommend, like I said, aligning to spirit first and then doing the manifestation, because when you're aligned with spirit, then whatever you bring forth in your vision is going to be aligned for the highest good of yourself and everyone involved. So I recommend you do it in that order. But the second card for the overall was the water card. And I want to read this to you, Amber, because I feel like this is kind of it is piggybacking into what you said, but it's also an overall message for the whole group. And it was the water card from the shamanic deck. And Jen, it was the second email that I sent over to you. And this is from the Mystical Shaman Oracle Guidebook. I love this book so much. And I don't know if you can see this, but this deck is just gorgeous. And the meaning of the card is this: the essence. Water symbolizes purification, regeneration, birth, revival, and cleansing. It signifies an evolutionary shift from the former self to the new self. Many myths around the world speak of a great flood and the new life that is revealed after the deluge. Water begins without boundaries. Then as soon as form has separated itself from water, it comes under the laws of time and life, thus acquiring limitations. When water arrives, you're invited to watch your emotions. Know they are going to be changeable, and do not settle on a conclusion at this time. If you feel joy, feel that fully. If you feel sad, allow sadness to move through you. Water invites you to see the ebb and flow of events and the trust you can ride. Flow of events and trust you can ride the wave of opportunity when it arises. Natural flow is here. Go with it. So the thing that came to my mind, Amber, as you were sharing your experience, is that up to this point, and I don't know if we can come off of that and go to the gallery view there again. Thank you, Jen. Up to this point, there has been this idea of who you are. And a lot of times when we are going through our awakening, which is what you're experiencing, it's like the snake shedding its skin, that you're being transformed into the phoenix, correct? You are waking up into the realization of who you really are, not the life coach, not the labels, not the roles that you played, not these relationships and its dynamic, not daughter, friend, sister, whatever, that you are something so much bigger than that. When you're asked to take a break and to pull away from your life, what you're being asked is to go within yourself and reconnect with who you really are. Not the meat suit, not the roles, not the ideas and the stories we tell ourselves in our heads. Because your value cannot be measured like that. That's destructible, that's changeable, it's bound to time and to space. You're not bound to that. You're not bound to time. You're not bound to space. You're eternal. You are eternal spirit. That's who you are, Amber. If you choose into something, when you choose into a role, because that feels aligned, the personality feels aligned with the soul, and you're living a life of purpose, you're choosing into that because it's centered in the heart. It's centered in this heart space energy, and it's aligned. But it's still not you. It's a role that you're choosing into at this part of creation. But at the same time, it can never measure your worth. Your successes, your failures, your stories, nothing. You're untouchable. You are untouchable. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong to get sick. It's just the soul asking you to stop. It's asking you to go within yourself and to remember who you really are so you can let go of that outer form. When you go through that process, it feels like a death. And it feels, and they call it the ego death, or it's the shedding of the old ideas of what you think. And so it can feel sad, it can feel heavy at times. But this is all part of that process of transformation. It's all part of that process of the reclaiming and the remembrance of who you are. So when you go back out into the world as a butterfly, because you've been in the cocoon phase and you've liquefied all that form, it just went to liquefaction. And now you've come out as the butterfly into the world. You can say, I choose to do this with joy, but not because it measures me and my value. I do it out of pure joy. And your life will change. Your life will transform before your very eyes. And it's a new life.
Absolutely. And to add into that too, it's so interesting because I drew on my paper the boxes in which we're going to call on. And Amber, you're actually in the lower box that I've selected. And then Jen, you're also in the other box connected that I've drawn out that's popping up. So I just think it's so perfect to bring this into form. Is it also feels like, which Amber will go into this too. But Jen, is it okay if we connect into your space? Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Because the thing that I'm connecting into is I feel like I'm drawing into a male, but I'm drawing into a male on father's side of the family. It feels there's a connection there, but there's actually, hang on. So let me just lean into this. There's a male that's coming forward and I see him step forward and I feel like there's a taller, showing this like this space of height, but also like I feel like there's like narrow, like more narrow hips, but I'm seeing like broader shoulders. I don't know why that's coming forward, but then I'm drawn to the heart and I feel like there's a lot of pressure or a lot of like there's just this burning or like this pain. It doesn't feel like lungs, but it feels like it's in my heart. Does that make sense with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But I see like I see like having this kind of like this old like Western twang kind of a feel, like this energy of like if someone were to have like a stick of hay or whatever that is like out of their mouth, just like kind of being more playful and a lot funner in that aspect of like just fully embracing this, I don't know, just this like earthy, this fun, this dynamic, wanting to just say like that there's peace there and that there's a lot of happiness there. But I also feel like there's a lot of disconnect between you and this male energy coming forward. Does that make sense with you?
Kinda.
Are you sure it's Jen? Because that totally sounds like my uncle. Like spot on. He had the narrow hips. He was a Westerner. He was always on a horse. He always had straw or a cigarette in his mouth, and he actually died by being crushed. His heart and his lungs were crushed by a horse.
Okay, so maybe that's Amber. But Jen, there's also a male coming forward for you. Okay, so that would make sense with Amber. But Jen, there's also a male coming in with you that I feel. Huh. It's interesting because I feel like when I lean into that space, I feel like he leans back, maybe a little more skeptical
Yeah.
of my space or of this whole process is kind of like, I don't know, this skepticism feel is what it feels like. So let me hurry and just lean into what's coming in this aspect with what Amber's talking about, and we'll see what comes forward in your space too. Is that okay?
Yep.
But I feel like there's this understanding too of a lot of times when we do generational clearing or healing, we can really focus in on all the things that we need to heal and we need to clear and we need to move through. When in truth, one of the fastest ways to move any energy is through happiness, is through laughter, is through joy. And so I feel like there's this call even in your space, Amber, and within all of us is sometimes in order for us to find full connection to the other side is when we can give ourselves permission to write a letter of positivity. We do a lot of burn and release. We do a lot of things to let things go. But when we want to be able to bring in messages or channel information for ourselves, is when we can step into that space of positivity, when we can step into that space of love, of happiness, of light. We actually can feel who they each are individually, just like that hay straw. Like that's so quirky and so random, but it's bringing in the laughter, it's bringing in the joy, it's bringing in the happiness that can be connected. It goes back to the women is like, yes, we may have a lot of things we're working through, but we're supported. And that's not bad or wrong, but they want us to bring in joy. So when we can actually write things out, write a letter of positivity, write a letter to this person saying, thank you for these things. When we can bring in that aspect, we can actually literally open up our heart space to their heart space. So we can get to know someone way better or a lot quicker of our ancestors through the space of positivity than having to clear and heal any negative energy that's connected. Does that make sense? You're paused, you're muted.
Yeah, that's spot on. I've had readings with you before where Michael has come in, Uncle Michael has come in. And so I actually just had a session with someone else. We both know her, Dana. And she
Okay.
said, you need to focus more on the joy as you're going through this transformational process instead of focusing on, I have to do this and I have to heal this and I have to fix this. And she's like, just breathe, just enjoy your life and be joyful and just be you. And you will find those parts of yourself that need to heal as you're joyful instead of focusing so much on the heavy
That's
stuff.
beautiful. Thank you. Candace, what do you have to add to that? Or Jen, were you wanting to say something? Okay. Candace, did you have something to add there?
I feel like we need to do Q&A because we are actually getting close. We're 8:17 right now. So I think it'd be fun to do some questions and answers from the rest of the ladies here and see if there's anything that they would like to ask. I hope you enjoyed this group reading for January of 2022. We plan on doing this once a month. If you are here today, you are meant to hear these messages. Everything is based off resonance and frequency. So I hope it called to you. I hope you felt the messages in your heart and are blessed by the beautiful reading and messages that came through today. Thank you for watching Modern Sages. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. If you want to follow us, we have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast as well.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our mystery school.